There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.
What's up everyone, and welcome back to Dunwich Manor. If you enjoy the video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Let's get into it. I became a fan of horror at a very young age. There were these books at the library called the Crestwood House books that had like a bunch of the classic Universal monsters, and I would just read about them all the time. Like every time, it was at the elementary school I used to go to, and I would read these books constantly, and then I would proceed to beg my parents to see if they would let me watch these movies. And this was back when you would either go to the video store or order from Netflix, you know, where they would ship the movie to you, and I would just beg my parents to let me watch them. But something you guys may not know is I'm also a really big fan of the supernatural and paranormal worlds. Now, to be honest with you guys, I'm not like 100% sure that ghosts and cryptids are real, but I can say confidently that I do want to believe. My interest in the supernatural and paranormal worlds actually started when I was young as well, but that started with two different shows. One was called Mystery Hunters and the other was called Truth or Scare. And I would watch these and they would both creep me out, but they were also a lot of fun. Now in this video I'll be covering Mystery Hunters, and in the next video I'll be covering Truth or Scare. So basically this is part one, the next one will be part two with Truth or Scare. Not 100% sure what I'll actually be saying about these two different shows, but let's get into it. Mystery Hunters was a kid's show from 2002 to 2009 that aired about 78 episodes. The show followed two teens, Oriah and Christina, who would both go on to look at different mysteries from around the world. They would actually interview people and go to these locations and basically do a kind of documentary thing with it. In an episode, Oriah would go to look at one mystery while Christina would go check out another, and this way they would both be able to meet up at the end and kind of discuss what they found out. There was also a scientist named Doubting Dave who was more of a skeptic, and he would kind of do the more scientific and logic-based reasoning behind these mysteries. Now this show is definitely meant for kids. There's a lot of goofy jokes, goofy sound effects, not very good acting, but honestly it's still a really fun show to watch, even, you know, if you're just trying to get a little nostalgia from the past. But I'd say it's worth checking out. Sadly, when I looked into it, I couldn't really find the show streaming anywhere, but luckily I did find that a lot of people have been uploading the full episodes to YouTube, so I was able to watch some of them there. Mystery Hunters covered topics all the way from aliens to Bigfoot to even like cursed plays like Macbeth. And funnily enough, speaking of the Macbeth episode, there's actually a really young Nicholas Hoult in it, which caught me off guard, but good for him, right?
One of Britain's most famous young actors, Nicholas Hoult, is going to show me how to counteract the curse. Nicholas plays some big roles in some big movies.
But that's enough of an overview. Let's actually check out a full episode of this show. Now, I didn't choose this episode for any reason in particular other than that when I looked up what the most popular episode is, this one popped up, and it was like one of the only episodes with an actual rating, so I was like, sure. So we're gonna watch Ghost Dog and Swamp Monster. Let's get into it. So basically, each episode starts out with a brief explanation of what each mystery hunter will be investigating.
Today on Mystery Hunters,
we're blowing the lid off monster myths and mysteries.
I go to England to find the ghostly black dogs that attack and then disappear in the night.
And from that, we go on to the intro.
This is Mystery Hunters.
Now this intro is pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of like the Spy Gear commercials from the early 2000s. But honestly, this face at the top always scared the hell out of me. So in this episode, Oriah is going to go investigate a swamp monster in Louisiana, while Christina is actually going to go to England to investigate a ghost dog, or at least a pack of ghost dogs. There's this one moment in the show where a witness is telling Oriah about the time he saw a swamp monster when he was little, and they're doing a recreation of it, right? They're doing this flashback scene. And the kid that sees the swamp monster has like the most pissed off face I've ever seen of a little kid in the show. And honestly, if I was that swamp monster, I'd be terrified. Because this kid looks like he wants to cut somebody.
Have you ever seen the creature yourself?
I've actually seen it twice. First time I was 8 years old, I was with my family, we were camping. It was late at night. I saw one pile of brush. I was able to tell that it was at least 6'4", because my dad's 6'4", and he was way bigger than my dad was. And based on their descriptions, I've come up with that drawing.
It's kind of like a giant ape-like figure with lots of hair all over.
So this quick sketch they show of the swamp monster completely ruined my expectations of the creature. I was expecting something like this, then instead we got this. A 6'4" version of Cousin It. Cool. But I digress. This show really does have excellent pace, and it does a good job of giving you information without coming across as dull, which is important in a kids show because kids have very low attention span, and I'm assuming they're trying to keep the kids' minds from wandering too much. While all this is going on in one part of the show, Christina is looking for her ghost dog.
The English countryside, some say it's haunted by black ghost dogs with fiery red eyes.
Kill it!
People from around here call it Black Shook. The story goes that they appear on country roads.
Although one of the ladies she's interviewing says it had to have been a ghost dog because it was ugly and vicious, I'm not entirely sure that tracks, because I've seen many an ugly and vicious mutt, and they were very much alive. Mystery Hunters also normally had this segment where Dave would get an email from a viewer and he would normally debunk some kind of mystery or question that the viewer had. I'll skip it in this episode just to keep everything moving along, but these segments can be kind of cool. And if you actually want to watch the segment, you can go ahead and find this full episode on YouTube very easily. Back with Ryan and his witness, they're looking at plaster casts of the swamp monster's feet, and let me tell you, them dogs are huge.
Swamp monster's footprint. What kind of creature could have made a footprint like this?
And I'm beginning to think this swamp monster is just Bigfoot, because those are some big feet. So Raya finds more witnesses and interviews them, but something I find really weird is that the pictures they show of the plaster casts of the swamp monster's feet, a lot of them are completely different. Like there's very little consistency across the different samples they find. And like some of them look like giant mutated frog feet, while other ones look like normal Bigfoot feet. So a little bit of an inconsistency there, but the show does say that maybe it's a family of swamp monsters, so perhaps that explains it, I don't know. I mean, either way, I'm still enjoying the show, so. On the other half, Christina's still talking to the two women about the ghost dogs, which they are now specifically calling the Black Shuck, which I have heard about, and I actually killed him in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Don't know why that's important, but it's true, I did, so.
That this dog will bring doom to people who see it. Do you believe that?
Yeah.
You know what, forget the ghost dog. There is a 99% chance that that woman is a witch.
I do believe it. During that year that I see Black Shuck, my granny died.
Actually, I feel kind of bad saying that now. I'm a bad person. Oh well.
Maybe about 10 months after that.
I was very, very ill just after that.
We got better.
The demon dog flew out of the church, carving its claw marks into the front door. For centuries, no one could find any marks on the doors. But in 1933, when they cleaned the doors, they found these.
Ah, yes, they found some markings on a door. Must have been a massive demonic ghost dog. It's the only logical explanation. Now, I'm poking a lot of fun at this show, but really, it is a lot of fun, and it is meant for kids, so you gotta have some leniency. The show does sometimes do cool little segments like this, where they go alone and kind of investigate, like almost in a POV shot, and that really makes it feel a little bit more authentic and a little bit more creepy. I mean, obviously the background music does that too, but it has just a little bit of an authentic feel.
Legendary dogs they call Black Shuck are most often seen by people walking alone on country roads at night. So I've sent away my crew to see if a Black Shuck will appear to me tonight.
Let's fast forward real quick to the end of the episode so this video doesn't become too long. And like I said before, you can find this whole episode on YouTube if you want to watch it for yourself. In the end of an episode, both mystery hunters will normally come together with Doubting Dave and discuss what they investigated. After discussion and debunking, they normally come to the conclusion that they just don't know. And every episode always ends with the same exact message. Things aren't always what they seem.
Remember, things aren't always what they seem.
So that was Mystery Hunters. It was a great show that really got me into the paranormal and supernatural worlds as a young kid. And even nowadays, it can still give some really good insight into cryptids or mysteries you might not have even heard of. And even if you're not watching it to look for some information or knowledge, you can still find some entertainment value and, worst case scenario, some fun nostalgia. So this was part one of a two-part series. This episode I talked about Mystery Hunters, and the next episode I'll be talking about Truth or Scare, which was actually my favorite of the two. So make sure you come back for that one. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and I'll catch you all next time on the next video.